so I mean, especially working in the nightclubs, the schedules is outrageous. I'm pretty much off during the week, and my schedule during the weekend is pretty much like 7 p.m. to about 3 or 4 in the morning every day.
Mm.
So setting intention for me is hard because, right, if you want to go to the gym in the morning, but you just got out of work at 4 in the morning, how do you stay consistent? How do you stay dedicated? And I feel like knowing the bigger picture is what has helped me in pushing myself to know, okay, you know what, I know I'm really tired and I know that I have to work the next day, but I'm going to do things to put myself in a position that I can be able to thrive.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode on Mindset Mastery. We have a special guest in front of us today. Her name is Brittany Soriano. She is a bar manager for Afro Beats Lounge in Miami. She graduated from Pace University with a B.8 in Communications and Marketing, and she now helps manage and facilitate a high volume lounge. She has over 10 years of service industry experience from New York all the way to Miami. And she's here with us today to share with us a little bit about how she's gotten to this point in her career and all the highs and lows that it took to get there. How, being a healthy high performer doesn't always mean that we're always quote unquote healthy, that we do have struggles and we do have adversities, and what's helped her stay grounded throughout the midst of all the transformations. This is such an impactful episode. I can't wait for you guys to dive in, and I hope that you all enjoy. We are back with another episode on Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. I have a very, very, very special guest in front of us here today. As you guys know, everything that we speak about on this podcast is about healthy high performance and what that looks like for the everyday individual, even if it sometimes feel like we're going through a lot of adversities. And I think that Brittany is going to be able to shed so much light on how she's been able to have grand success in her career, even though it may not always have been the easiest for her. Her dedication to her mental health and the growth that she's had over the years has helped her become a high performer. Britt, the first question I have for you is, what would you deem as a healthy high performer?
Somebody who comes up with a plan, and not necessarily just executes it, but stays consistent to it, because you're not going to always come up with a plan and follow the steps the way you want it to. But knowing that even though you could stop doing it, you could also get back on track. For example, I opened up a hookah business in Miami, like about 2 years ago, around during COVID. And although it's taking a little bit of like a slow, neutral type of kind of coasting type of vibe, I had a high point in it. So not giving up on that and knowing that although it may be slow right now, it's not going to be slow forever. And that's pretty much the business that I'm in. I don't know if this is explained, but I'm in the service industry. I currently work as a bar manager in Miami Wynwood, for an Afro Beats Lounge. So that consists of inventory, helping facilitate any of the parties that we have, our day to day. Our day-to-day sales, increasing our sales, helping the girls, etc. So by me being in that position, I didn't always start there. When I first came to Miami, I came during COVID, in the height of COVID, honestly. And I didn't know where I was gonna go, honestly. So I was just trying different options. I was trying. I actually went down there as a Starbucks manager. I was there for about 6 years, and 3 of those years I was in a manager role. And I realized, I love the service industry. I love coffee. I love dealing with people, but it wasn't really getting me where I wanted, so I could be able to bring myself to the next level. I knew that
Mm.
I had a lot of potential and a lot of different resources that I needed to use. And once I got my feet really nailed into Miami, I was able to, discover a lot of different talents that I had. I actually was bartending in New York for back in 2012, 2013, 2014, around that time for the US Open. So it gave me a little bit of an idea as to where I was going and what I wanted to do. So I just needed to hone in on what talents that I really wanted to showcase out in Miami, so that I could be able to utilize that.
Hmm. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I know Brittany very, very, very well. We went to college together. We're in the same sorority. We're on the same line for anyone who knows anything about Greek life. And listening to Brittany share her insights, I think a lot of us can relate to us human beings being multifaceted. And if anyone who knows Brittany knows that she's always been a hustler, right? And so the idea of being fed was, maybe sometimes hard, but it was never a worry. You were going to do something to help you get somewhere. I think the journey for you has been, out of the many things that you can be good at, what is the one thing that you really want to do? And I don't know if where you're at right now is your end. We're always evolving, but I think it's Winwood, correct, where you're working at right now?
Right.
That's like a very prestige nightclub, is it not?
Well, it's a lounge,
It's a
but the area
lounge.
surrounding area is up and coming. So Wynwood right now is predominantly a lot of bars, a lot of clubs, but they are bringing in some more lounge, more high end restaurants. So that's where I'm trying to focus my energy on and building my skills where I'm at now, so that way I can be able to move up into more high end, high class, full set restaurants. Um,
Okay.
so right now, that's what I'm doing as far as that. But I didn't originally start there. That was crazy. Is I started as like a bar back in Miami. And if anybody knows anything about the service industry, that's pretty much the bottom tier of where you're at. And especially because in Miami, it's very much who you know and how do you look, not really how much talent you have. So I had to fight
Mm.
through a lot of that. I had to fight through a lot of people who underestimated me, who really didn't see that I had the look, but I had the charm. And that's what I feel like has helped me a lot in my time in Miami and just building my career is my charm, because I'm really good with people. My life, I feel like my life passion is people, communicating with people, dealing with people, helping people, enlightening people, just having a connection with people. I'm really good at connecting with people in general. And that's why being a bartender is so great, because bartending is like almost like a therapist. You
Hmm.
listen to a lot of you
Real life,
meet a
yeah.
lot of different people, and you don't know what they're coming to your bar. You think they're just coming to get a regular margarita, but they might have just been through some life changing events, and they're there, and you're the first person that they're really encountering.
Oh.
Take that lightly, and I do utilize that to my advantage, because being in Wynwood, we meet people from all over the world, not just people from Florida or people from New York, but being that it's a predominantly Afro Beats lounge, we meet up people from Africa, people from Europe, people from London, all over the place. And being able to connect with different people and shed light of who I am, and them shed light to me, has helped me grow and helped me like open my eyes to a lot of different things.
Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question because I know that it's taken you not a long time to get here, but you're climbing the ladder. Like, you've been in service for majority of your life, and this type of service, you're a manager, right? You're a manager at Winwoods. That's, they can't give that position to anybody. And start in listening to your story and where you started, you know, it gives insight to keeping, momentum and hope for the bigger picture, even if from what you're telling me it sounds like the bigger picture isn't always so clear for you. It's just a matter of like figuring it out and being okay with that. And so I want to talk about, mental health, spiritual health, physical health. um how has that played a part, it like in congruence with your career? Has it helped? What has been your experience with all three different facets: spiritual, mental, and physical?
So I've always been a heavy set person. If anybody knows me, I'm like the funny fat girl, and I've always embraced it because for me, I never thought I was fat. I was just filled with love. So
Mhm.
for me, I never minded being big, but I also realized that I wasn't in a healthy place. I wasn't a person that was ever felt body shamed or anything, but I always wanted to make sure that I was healthy. So about 2 or 3 years back, I was able to, during COVID actually, really hone in on my health, and just realize that I can still do and be who I want to be, but in a healthy manner, and doing things where I put my health first. So I started going to the gym, started rollerblading, started running. I have a little puppy who's super active, so he had me
Mhm.
outside a lot. And first being able to do that and seeing how dedicated and consistent I was able to lose 86 pounds during COVID. And
86 pounds. That's
most people during,
huge.
yeah, I went from 226 down to about 151 was my goal weight, and I actually was able to meet that goal weight. But I realized that just in that form, not just beyond the fact that I was able to lose the weight, it was more that I was able to stay consistent and dedicated to myself, and knowing that I didn't stop eating the things that I wanted to eat. I didn't put myself on a crazy diet. I still did and had fun, and ate my pizzas and burgers, but I was also able to stay dedicated to going to the gym and following a routine and having people hold me accountable. And I think that really helped kickstart the change in my life as far as my mental health. Because when you have a hold of your physical health, your mental health almost follows, because it's almost like your body's training your brain to start thinking differently. And when you think differently, you act differently. So what's crazy is that my mental health then tied into my physical health tied into my mental health, which then tied into my spiritual health. Because when you're physically feeling good and you're mentally feeling good, God kind of leads you in the path that you need. And I've always had a strong faith with God, but within the last 3 years, I was able to give my life to God. I was baptized in Miami, with my church, VU Church, and they have done incredible things in my life. And it really isn't because, I'm not a super church person. I'm not like preaching God all the place, but it helped me understand and open my mind to the idea that God is beyond what we put him in a bubble in. Our bubble that we think of God is the one that we create. It's not what it actually is. And
Mm.
opening up and reflecting on that idea that God is so much more than just an entity, but he's somebody that you can really go to and find guidance to. So, being able to put all those three things and tie them into one has helped me level up to where I need to go, because it kept me focused, it kept me diligent. For example, for me, it's extremely imperative that I don't miss church on Sundays. I mean, I can mess up my entire routine during the week, but that one thing, that one
Mm.
entity, I don't ever play with. I've even traveled away and make sure that I come back on Sunday before church starts,
Wow.
because for me it's more than just attending church, but it's staying consistent to God, and knowing that he's been consistent to me, I'm giving that back to him. So
Oh,
that
that's
helped me
beautiful.
in a sense, because at first I was working on Sundays and it made it really difficult. But because my job saw that I was so dedicated to them and dedicated to my church, they were able to work around my schedule, where I really went to church and came right back to work. Because I was a manager, I kind of did doubles on Sunday. So they gave me that time for my little lunch break, where I would be able to go to church and come back. And it just showed for me that I was dedicated and I was consistent and giving something back to God, because God continues to give it back to me. So
Wow.
for me, my spirituality has increased about 100. It's changed 180%, because I've let go of the idea of the spiritual relationship that your parents kind of formulate for you, and I've
Yep.
developed my own.
Yep.
Because I am a proud lesbian. I am a person that is in the service industry. So when people see me, they don't traditionally see a church girl, but they see somebody who's a regular person, who has trials and tribulations, who has struggles, but knows that putting God first can never put you last. So that's what I really feel.
Mm. Well, that's beautiful. I mean, you have such dedication to your spirituality and to your faith. And can you tell us a little bit more? You're so grounded and committed to your spirituality, which is so beautiful. I would say that right now in your life, it sounds like it takes precedence over, although they're all connected, but over your mental and spirit. I'm sorry, over the physical and mental. Like your priority right now is spiritual. It's what grounds you. And so, how has that helped you in your career?
It's helped me in my career, because when you're spiritually focused, and you tune in God to like be the focal point of your life, you know that any adversity that you face, God's gonna be able to take care of it. Your mental health, because I'm in a high volume lounge, and I don't have a bar back. I don't have help. It's really just me. I do everything. Plus, I'm helping the servers that are on the floor at all times. Um, so with that, I always keep God first because I keep myself grounded. I keep myself calm. I keep myself where my anxiety is not, at a 10, but I'd rather at like a 5, 6, and I try to keep it that way. And it's through a lot of prayer, praying that I can get through this, praying that my next shift is going to be okay, praying that everything is going to be fine, and that I'm just going to get through it. Getting through it is kind of like convincing yourself that you're going to get through it is kind of like the hardest part, but once you're through it, you're through it. So it's just tackling over and like having like mind over matter, and really training your mind to know, okay, whatever I'm going through is not going to last forever. So even if it's like super busy or super stressful or super, there's celebrities everywhere or something like that where your anxiety is through the roof, keeping yourself grounded, keeping yourself calm, keeping yourself focused on one task at a time. I feel like that's what's also helped me as well. I was a person that used to take on a lot of things. Everything. I would say yes to everything, 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 everything. Now I've learned to set boundaries. Now I've learned to take time off. I actually take days off. There was a good solid 4 years that I wouldn't even take a day off, just because I felt like every day I wasn't working, I was missing out. And when I started letting go of the idea that I'm not missing out, but I'm rather taking care of myself, and I realized that if I don't have myself, I can't do anything else. So
Mhm.
making sure that I set those boundaries for myself, that I take my church time, that I go to the gym, that I just have my days off where I can just, recuperate and recover from just the past weekend. It was important to me, and putting that first, I think, is what really started changing the trajectory of where my life started going.
Are you a shining star in your world, but deep down you feel the weight of unresolved emotions blocking your path? It's time to break free from the chains that hold you back and step into the life you've always deserved. Introducing the one-to-one somatic elevation coaching, a transformative journey for those who are ready to transcend their current reality and embrace their true potential. You achieved greatness, but anxiety, emotional instability, and poor boundaries still linger. It's time for you to rewrite your story. Our program is designed to guide you towards emotional mastery so you can thrive within your growth mindset and finally experience internal clarity. Ready to step into a life of resiliency, clarity, and abundance? Visit our website, www.julisaedwardscounseling.com, to learn more and embark on a transformative journey. Okay, so I want to talk about your energy, because you've always been someone that, if you know anything about human design, I'm almost positive that you're probably a generator, meaning that like you have a lot of energy to give, and being so, you in the past you're learning how to not be a yes head. You're learning how to take time off and not always be in hustle mode, which for a lot of us that's really hard to stop doing, right? When it's like literally our nature within to always go, 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 say yes, for wanting to not miss out on opportunities, for wanting to look better at work by being accountable, I'm responsible, I can do it, all the things, versus like, well, if I can't take care of myself, I can't, I can't keep moving forward. And I think for a lot of us in our careers and a lot of our listeners, like we may be at a point in our lives where we're looking at our past habits, and I always say we thank our ego for doing what it had to do at those times in our life where we felt like it was necessary to thrive, right? We live and we learn. And now we're at a point in our lives where we're learning that maybe life can be a little different for us. And the one that has to change is us first, right? And I always teach and preach about, how our insides are our outside and how our inner world reflects our outer world, right? And so for a long time, Britt, I think so back back view really quick. So anyone who knows Brit knows that she has very infectious, charming energy. Everybody loves Brit. She's always a good time to be around. It's always loving and it's high energy. That is Brittany, right? You can even feel it when she's talking here on this interview. And so I would imagine that you're learning to slow down a little bit so that you can catch a beat and catch your breath.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
has that been for you?
So that was really, especially because us from New York. If you're any of the listeners are from New York, you guys know that it is embedded into us from young to hustle. Even if you have one job, you always feel like you need to have a second job. So having that hustle mentality has been in my blood since before I was born. So it was really hard for the transition that I needed to go through, especially moving to Florida. Florida is very slow paced. It's very, very like everybody's on vacation mode, even when they're living there. So I needed to switch my mentality, right? I needed to know that although I want to hustle, although I want to be on the go, I also have time to take for myself. I have time to relax. I have time to sit down and have a nice meal. I have time to, spend time with my friends. I have time to be able to do things that are important to me because life is not, we don't need to rush life. Life is still going to be here. So when we have this mentality of, I need to go, I need to make money, I'm going to miss out, you're also missing out on your own personal growth. You're missing out on things for you yourself because you're taking it away. By continuously giving to the world, you're taking away from you. So what I realized is by me slowing down, I can give more to people because I was able to reflect on myself and just almost love myself more, to be calm and be relaxed so that way I can be able to be better at my job. Because when I take a day off, realize that I come back into work so much more refreshed, so much more calm, so much more relaxed. But those days that wasn't taking any days off, where I was doing 7 days straight, 13-hour days, nonstop, like I was taking away from myself because I was so miserable and I was sad and I was tired. But I always put on a great front because I always know that I am that energy. I am that infectious vibe. A lot of people do really, they feed off of my energy, and I realize that it's a blessing from God. It sometimes can be a blessing and a curse, but I try
Hmm.
to see it more as a blessing because there's a lot of people that don't have that energy, and if I have it to give, I don't mind
Yes.
to give. But if you take too much from yourself, you then no longer have for you. So I think that was a big part in my growth and in changing, is learning to slow down, learning to embrace it, like take intentional breaths. I read or I listened to a podcast. His name is Rob Dial, and his name is it's the Mindset Reset Program.
Mm.
And pretty much he explained to me, or he explained in the podcast, that when you take away from you, you're not able to give that to anybody else because you've already taken it away from you, and you're not giving it to them because you don't have it yourself to give. So
Hmm.
understanding that concept, understanding that taking that time for yourself, taking that deep breath, 6 intentional breaths go a long way. And I
Mm.
feel like when I start my day with my 6 intentional breaths, I kind of just put like intentions on it, like I'm gonna have a great day today.
Okay.
Conquer something. Like I don't try to accomplish too much. If I can accomplish one good thing that I've set an intention for, even if I don't get through the other five, that one gets me to the next day. So the next day I can do two, and the following day three. But never holding that against myself. That even if I don't get through any for that day, it's okay. The next day I can get through another one.
Hmm. Okay, let's talk about that. So, what I'm hearing is you're forming a better connection to your body's intuition and communication styles with you, and letting you know how much bandwidth you have for a certain day or a certain moment. And I think that, coming from New York, having that New York hustle mentality of like going, 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 there's so many times where something as simple as going to the bathroom, like your body communicating with you, like, I have to use the restroom. And you're like, nah, we can hold it. Like, something as simple as that, right?
Right?
Or I'm thirsty or I'm sweating. I should take a drink. And it's just like, no, we just keep going, right? So it just sounds like you're being a little bit more cognizant and in tune with your body. And I think for a lot of us, it doesn't always come so natural, and it takes time. And I want to highlight these points because some of us tend, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably an ambitious person. You probably have a great accolade of things that you've done. But the question is, like, are we being healthy doing it? And I want to normalize the fact that I'm not always healthy doing it. We live and we learn and we get better as we go. And something that's helped me tremendously, as is have been helping you, is listening to your body and your cues. So can you tell us, like, how I can only imagine like nightclub life, nightlife, just there's so much noise. Like, how could you tune into your body and your needs? And how has that been for you? And how are you getting better at that?
Yeah, so I mean, especially working in the nightclubs, the schedules is outrageous. I'm pretty much off during the week, and my schedule during the weekend is pretty much like 7 p.m. to about 3 or 4 in the morning every day.
Mm,
Um, so setting intention for me is hard because, right, if you want to go to the gym in the morning, but you just got out of work at 4 in the morning, how do you stay consistent? How do you stay dedicated? And I feel like knowing the bigger picture is what has helped me in pushing myself to know, okay, you know what? I know I'm really tired and I know that I have to work the next day, but I'm going to do things to put myself in a position that I can be able to thrive. For example, taking naps or not overextending myself, taking my time for myself as far as, being in my own routine, making sure my household is good, taking care of my animals. Those normal things that I do on a day-to-day basis,
simple.
keeping that in is important because then it helps me. Because when you're getting out of work and you just listen to all this loud music, craziness, people yelling everywhere, loud music, you have to like bring yourself down. You know what I mean? You almost have to like meditate. And I've been doing really well. I want to say I was doing really good, but I've been intentional on getting myself at least 2 days of meditation. Meditation is hard, honestly, because I was a person that I would fall asleep. Really, like I would start meditating. I was just working so much that I would fall asleep in meditation. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to like merge it together. I meditate and I pray. So if I
Okay.
pray and I actually talk out loud, like I'm moving my lips and I'm like, even if I'm talking to the air, it doesn't allow me to go to sleep, and it gives me full intention to just stay focused on what I'm trying to focus on, which is just prayer, which is just meditating and just calming myself, like clearing my mind, clearing everything that I have going on. The whole world could be around me going crazy, but just in that one moment, just getting myself down to a level where my heart rate is low, my mind is low, my voice is low, so that way I can be able to think fresher. Because I've realized I'm a very anxious person. I talk very quickly. I talk with my hands. I'm all over the place. And when I just really just relax and I talk low, talk slow, talk calmly, it's helped me. And I've realized just those small changes, really small changes, is what gets you to the bigger change. And that's what I've put in my I just put one foot in front of the other because there's some days that are good and there's a lot of days that are bad, but I try to always
Mhm.
remember the good days, because when you remember those good days you repeat those good days, and when you try to remember the bad days you remember them so that you don't make the same mistakes. You try to not emulate the mistakes that you made, but you rather than you highlight on the things that have been positive. So for me, I'm not always going to be great at meditating, but if I did one meditation for the week, I'm proud of myself because that's more than what I did last week. So, finding gratitude in yourself, being grateful to yourself, being grateful for the small things that you have. So that's why I say small things are better than bigger things. Like, it's great to go on vacations and to take elaborate vacations, but it's also really nice to like take a walk and walk
Wow.
your dog and pray, just watch a sunset, just be in silence, complete silence, just you and your thoughts. those
Mhm.
are those are really important moments that people tend to forget, especially when you're younger and you start to develop those things as you grow older and you see that life is short. Life is really short, and you before you know it, you have kids and you're a husband and you're living in a brand new state. Like you know what I mean? Look how much have your life has changed in such a small amount of time.
Mhm.
So when you start seeing those small changes, the big changes happen.
Mhm. Okay, I have one more question to ask before we get to the last section of our interview. So, if someone is going through a season of change and that's coming with a lot of turbulence, because change is hard, right? And maybe they're having a hard time, like maybe they're just in the thick of it and they need, I don't know what they need. I want this to come, spiritually from you. What is a good piece of advice that you could give someone that's just going through it right now and they feel lost in their sense of identity and career?
I would say one piece of advice that I tend to hold really dear to my heart, especially because a lot of my turbulence and a lot of my obstacles that I dealt with was pretty much during COVID time. Like COVID changed my life completely. I went through a really intense breakup. I moved to a different state. I changed pretty much my entire environment. And then COVID hit. So for me, I was forced into my change. But when I started to realize that it wasn't a force and it was God putting me in the position that I needed to be in, everything happens for a reason. You're in the moment that you're in because that's where you're supposed to be. So embracing that and understanding where you're at in your life is so important in your change and in your development. So when you realize that nothing is done against you, but everything is done for you start to see the world differently. You start to see that people are energy and it's all based on where you feel good at. You never want to do something that's going to make you feel uncomfortable, but always understanding that when you put your intentions and you really focus on them and you just put yourself first, you're able to understand and get a better idea as to who you are. And the development changes. Don't rush the process. Nothing is done quickly. A diamond in order to make a diamond, you need pressure. So pressure takes time. Give yourself time. Give yourself some type of space to be able to mess up. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fail. A lot of and a lot of it is gonna be failure. But understanding that failure is not forever. You just because you fail at one time doesn't mean that you're gonna fail forever. And giving
Mm.
yourself grace, a lot of grace, giving yourself grace because I tend to see a lot of people, especially in our age, we don't give ourselves grace. We're always looking at the next person, like I'm not doing enough. This person's doing too much. This just knowing that give yourself grace. You're in the position that you're in because that's where your development was. Some people are in a different place. Some people, you may think some people are better than you or more advanced than you or ahead of you, but that's not true. That's just their pace. That's their journey. You don't know that where
Mm.
they're at, they might get stagnant and stay stopped, and you'll continue to grow and you'll go past them. You don't know how the world works, but giving yourself that grace to understand where I'm at is where I'm supposed to be, and to to not to not put pressure on yourself. Really, just putting yourself first.
I think that's a really big testament of what you were speaking about earlier about your faith, right? Because you're pretty much saying like trust where you're at, even if you don't know why you're there or what's going to happen next. Because the reality is that we really don't know what's going to happen next, right?
Oh,
We can project and we can plan, but at the end of the day, it's out of our hands. And having a really grounded sense of faith within self and something greater than you is really powerful, and it's helpful. So, all right, girly, let's get into it. So, what is something in your life right now that you're having a really hard time handling, moving through, that I could perhaps either shed some insight or at the very least hold some space?
um, I would say one of my hardest struggles that I'm dealing with now is staying consistent in my development because you have really good days and then you have really bad days, and not letting those bad days affect the good days to come is where I feel like I struggle the most. Because for example, if I'm going to the gym and I have 3 solid days to the gym and something will throw me off, whether it's a work appointment or I'm traveling or I have some type of prior engagement, it'll throw off my routine and it's hard to get back on the horse. So I feel like for me right now, what I've been really trying to work on is staying consistent and how to stay consistent, especially um, when you're on the go all the time.
Okay. Well, this kind of goes back into the convo of like listening to your body. I was going to say earlier how, I myself have recently been learning through my own mentor and just like life adversities that like sometimes when a lot of things aren't working, sometimes it's hard. So you were saying earlier how I think many of us, especially those that are high performers, we have a hard time giving ourselves grace. It's like, this isn't good enough, right? And so you're dealing with a lot of currently inconsistencies within your like fitness regimen, right? And you would like to be more consistent. And so when I feel that I've been hitting a block, for me personally, first and foremost, it's a hit to my ego, and it's like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Why can't I keep this up or together or whatever it may be? And then when I can learn to take the ego out of it and just look at like a computer, like input and output. Okay, so I'm trying to do X thing and it works for a couple of weeks and then it doesn't, right? Or sometimes it works and then it doesn't. If we just look at it as data without putting any emotional reasoning behind it, it's just letting us know what's not working, which is
Right.
really good data, right?
It is.
it takes, so if you could look at it that way, Brittany, what's what do you know for a fact is not working for you?
I definitely know running is not working for me. Being running,
Okay, because you don't like it.
I am not a runner at all, but I feel like my so I set a goal last year to do the bike tour, and I did the bike
Okay.
tour. And I didn't
Okay.
win the bike tour, but I did the bike tour. So I
Okay.
wanted to play off of that. My next thing is I'd love to do a triathlon. I've wanted to do a triathlon since as long as I can remember, but I've always been big and heavy set. So it's like, how can I get myself to a place where I can feel confident enough to even want to start training? Because I
Mm.
feel like where I'm at right now, I don't even feel confident enough to want to start training for something so grand
So
like.
big. Okay, so I'm going to give you your own advice because you said prior in the interview that, vacations are nice, but the small everyday things is really what builds up over time, like taking your dog for a walk or things. I, because I know you personally, like I remember you when I felt that you were in a really good place in your life was when you were like kayaking and you were rollerblading and stuff like that. And it seemed, I'm sure there was commitment behind it, but it seemed effortless because you were playing, like you were having so much fun doing it.
Right.
So like when I think about running, maybe for you, like maybe that's not a good time.
Right. Not fun.
It's not fun for you.
Fun.
Yeah. So like how like do you have more success doing something in longer consistency when it's adventurous, fun, exciting for you?
Yeah, I think I do, because I find that since because I have such a playful nature, and my genuine character is just like a clown and like
Right.
silly and
Mm-hmm.
so lighthearted. I feel like doing things where I find the joy in it has helped me, and I feel like I need to find where that joy is again, and be able
Correct.
to, because I feel like sometimes you lose it, and you lose that in translation and just in the hustle of things, not because
Yes.
anything gone wrong.
Yes.
But yeah, for sure, I definitely
Okay.
agree.
Wonderful. So it sounds like, because earlier in this beginning of this little segment, you were like, I get off of work at 3 and then I'm trying to make it to the gym in the morning. Like that just sounds so
Far-fetched.
hard. Like that just sounds so hard. There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing. I mean, I don't want to deter anyone from going to the gym, but like for you specifically, there's nothing fun about like going to the gym. Like it sounds very forceful, right? And it's so back to the data aspect. It's like if we're just looking at data, you're wanting to do it for good reasons, to be healthy, to be fit, but the avenue in which how you're getting there is gray. It's bland. It's just like we should be doing this, but it's not fun, right? So
Right.
would you say that the data is that if you have passion for something, even when it comes to fitness, you're better off?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so
Like that's what I have to put in my mind. My passion is really to do a triathlon, and getting through those steps and training and even just starting is where I need to get myself to find the joy in.
all right,
Once
let's
I
break
find,
that down because even triathlon, I'm not seeing the excitement. What about a triathlon is exciting for you?
I feel like the accomplishment, because I'm a person that I my inner saboteur has always been louder than my inner confidence. So I feel like my inner saboteur is like, you've been overweight your whole life, and you're 30, you're about to be 33 years old trying to do a triathlon. You barely know how to swim, and those
It's a big
ideas is what
commitment.
it's a huge commitment. It
Yeah.
takes more than a year to train for something like that, because there's you have to do pre marathons in order to qualify and stuff like that. So it's a whole big process of a step. You can't just
Hmm.
like jump into a triathlon. You gotta like prove yourself. And I feel like the excitement for me is knowing that I have to do that, and that I can do that, and that my end goal, although it's not the end goal, is to make it to the triathlon. Like just doing those small little marathons is gonna bring me joy, because it's another accomplishment. So it's every time that I beat a marathon, I go through another marathon, it's one step closer. And I feel like once I finally get there, is where I'll find the real joy. Because, for me, even joining the sorority, I joined my sorority my spring semester senior year. I was already gonna graduate. That was it. I was done with school. I didn't owe Pace University nothing. They didn't owe me nothing. But it was more of for self. It was something that I wanted to prove to me that I can commit to something, I can do it, and I'm going to
Mm.
complete
Okay, okay, okay. I'm
it.
understanding this better now. Okay, so this is really a commitment to self thing. It's
Yeah,
like I'm saying that I want to do this and I want to feel proud at the end of said journey that I actually went ahead and did this thing.
right.
Hmm. All right, this is opening the can of worms for like many things, so I'm gonna try to keep it on one thing. In wanting to feel proud, at the end of the day, if we're just looking at this logistically, a triathlon, like we said before, is a big commitment. And if I'm thinking about when you said earlier in this interview that you lost over 80 pounds, over COVID, that's huge, right? And so I would imagine that over time it got easier to do it. And to me, you were just organically becoming more fit. So if you were to do what you were doing then to get you to be in the athletic place that you need to be to just put yourself in this triathlon, I think that could work out for you. So what was the easy thing that was happening in your life at that time that was allowing you to stay committed to the journey of becoming healthier?
COVID. Really, like we couldn't go nowhere. We couldn't talk to nobody. We couldn't see nobody. So it was just me and me. So it was just like, at that time, I really had nothing else to do but go to work, and go to the gym, go to work, go to the gym, because there was no room to be able to go hang
So
out.
what are your distractions right now then?
Exactly. And I think that's my biggest thing. My distractions is what's deterring me from being able to hone in
So
and
intuitively, if like right now, what is one of your distractions?
um I would say my job, really. I mean, my job is a distraction because I want to do so much and I want to develop so much. There's so much because I'm in this role now. I take a part in helping create the new drinks, create different ideas, create things to be able to uplift and bring the lounge to another level. I feel like that is a distraction for me because I'll use that as my excuse as to why I can't commit to myself. And I feel like that's my biggest thing where if I use an excuse, I kind of deter myself because I'm like, oh, okay, for example, I need to meet with my general manager. We need to go over scheduling and cocktails and what's coming up, what events are coming up. So I can't go to the gym because I'm going to be with that. Like, I'm going to be dealing with that. So I'll use that because, and then I use it as a positive. Like, I'm doing something good. I'm at work. I'm taking care of that, but I'm
Mm.
taking away from myself. So it's
Okay,
really
so
just
we're lacking balance, but so let's backtrack a little bit. You said before in COVID, the only thing that you were doing was working and working out. So I don't feel like job is really the problem here. Your place of work, because you could just do your work and work out. Like if those are the only two things that you were doing, obviously you're doing more things. But what is something else in your personal life that's maybe getting in the way of just keeping you focused for work and health?
Well, I would say, I mean, the natural Miami vibe. Like, but most people want to be at the beach and at the pool, hanging out, going out. That definitely is a huge distraction for me because I'm a very social person. I love to
Okay,
network.
so
I love to
social
go
life.
out. So
Yes.
my social is a huge distraction for me because it's constantly on go.
But remember, this is just data, right? So if social life intrigues you, if it's easy for you to say yes to an outing, can you formulate social outings where you work out together?
I never thought of it like that.
It's just an idea. Well, the it's just an idea, but the fact of the matter is that we're just trying to take the data that life is giving you. It's like what's easy for Brittany to do is really easy for Brittany to say yes to a social outing, to go to the beach, to hang out. It's really easy to think about going kayaking or skateboarding or walking the dog because it brings joy to your life. I don't the vibration in your voice when you're talking about the gym, it's lowered It's like, it's not fun,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, let's just stop doing that. It's not working. Like, we're seeing data, it's just not working. Oh, so we're a yes head to work. We're obsessed with growth at work. Cool. Fine. Let's do that. At one point, you were doing that and working out, right? So that's
Right.
not the problem here. We just got to figure out a way for you to make social or pleasure with working out.
And balance is definitely key. You definitely hit the nail right on the head, because I feel like sometimes I'm good at balance, but most of the time I'm not, and that's where I guess my path goes left, um, because like everybody, the social aspect is really a killer, and in Miami, everybody's on
I bet.
vacation, even not.
I
So
bet.
it definitely harder.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, girly. I think we learned so much from speaking to you, and I think my biggest takeaway from this interview is that we're just always learning and growing and evolving, and that's okay. And even if we feel like we don't have everything together, I feel that in other people's, eyes or perspectives, like, we as high performers, we're doing a lot, usually all the time. And one of my biggest takeaways from you is to give ourselves grace.
Yeah, absolutely. Grace is definitely the number one thing. I give myself a lot of grace, sometimes too much, but grace is never.
All right, girly. Well, we want to thank you for coming on to this podcast, for being open and honest, and for sharing your vulnerable insights with us. And I know our listeners will take so much away from this episode. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This was
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Imagine a life where overwhelm is replaced by inner peace, where emotional instability transforms into emotional regulation, and where avoidance gives way to acceptance. Introducing one to one somatic elevation coaching, a transformative journey for those who are ready to transcend their current reality and embrace their true potential. I will help you heal those inner wounds that have been holding you back for so long. You'll gain the tool to embrace a new understanding of yourself, unlocking the power to create mental freedom. Life's magic is waiting for you once you elevate your inner work. As you shed the weight of unhealed trauma, you'll find yourself clearer, lighter, and open to the universe's whispers, a clear line of communication. Ready to step into a life of resiliency, clarity, and abundance? Visit our website, www.julisaedwards.com, to learn more and embark on a transformative journey. Break free from the chains of emotional instability and self-doubt, and embrace the pleasure of inner peace, self-love, and empowerment. Once again, that's www.julisaedwardscounseling.com. Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.